presents JITG Music Fest. Janae Aiko, Ludacris, Ashanti, Nelly, Glorilla, LMA, Maya, Joe, D-Nice and Friends, featuring SWV, Danielle Jones, Case, Sunshine Anderson and Kenny Burns, Isley Brothers, El DeBarge, Stephanie Mills, and so many more. March 7th and 8th, Hard Rock Stadium. Tickets and info at jazzinthegardens.com. Jazzinthegardens.com.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie Van Vark, as you know, and I am the host of Just Talking Business. We are talking to business owners about their pivot plan, and today we are bringing on someone who is the epitome of that. Because first of all, based on her bio, I don't know when she sleeps, but welcome, Danielle Jeter.
Hi, Stephanie. Thank you so much for having me on your show today.
How are you today? Thank you so much for agreeing to do so. So first of all, tell us who you are and what you do.
Yes, so I am Danielle Jeter, affectionately known as Jeter, and I am a two-time founder. I own an agency called AOI Events and Public Relations, and I'm also the founder of Women in Media Global. So I really specialize in building brands, amplifying people's stories, and increasing visibility for the clients or the corporations and the partners that I work with. So that's kind of me in a nutshell, if we want to talk about one lens of what it is that I do. But, I know we'll get into many more things, but that's just a little bit about the two companies that I founded.
Yeah, because definitely your bio was a very interesting read, because I'm not kidding when I say how do you sleep, because it seems like you're sort of always actively working to help your clients, from what I can read. What I noticed in your bio is that you started with the Women in Media Global, and you started as a 501c3. What was the thought process behind making it a 501c3?
So we actually started with the agency first. So we started with for-profit, no problem at all. We started with AOI Events and PR, and then about 4 years later, we founded Women in Media Global. And so both of these organizations, both my nonprofit and my for-profit, have been around for quite some time now. But the vision behind starting Women in Media was to create an environment and a community that is very supportive, and one that can really operate as a community hub of resources for women who are working in the media industry, in entertainment, whether they are corporate executives, whether they are working on behalf of other entities, or even those who are entrepreneurs in a space like you and I. Coming into this industry, it's not always a friendly industry to be a part of. And so I wanted to change the narrative, one being as though women do support women. Two, there is an environment here where women should be at the table and not on the menu, and a place where our voices are appreciated and our stories are narrated in a way that really highlights who we are and what we bring to the table. So I wanted to create that environment because I felt like it was missing in the industry.
So if the PR company came first, what were you thinking about in your work as you were going through your work? What prompted, okay, this is next level, this is scale, or was that always the point to start a nonprofit?
So when I started my PR agency, I started it out of a need of needing a job, because I graduated from Spelman College during a recession. And so I was like, well, I'm gonna take matters into my own hands and make sure that I'm utilizing my skill set. I have access to resources. I am very creative. I am a leader. And so I saw myself being an entrepreneur at some point in my career. I just didn't know that I would do it at such a young age, but God had other plans. And so I went ahead and I took the leap of faith and I did it. And I was very courageous. I was not scared at all in order to, to go ahead and launch my business. But when I decided to do the nonprofit, it was because I experienced something myself when I attended a film screening in Philadelphia, which is where I'm from. And I had just graduated from Spelman, so I was kind of making my way back around the city and building relationships and my ecosystem there. And I attended a film screening about Philadelphia's art scene, and there was only one woman represented in that film for her art. And so coming from an all-female institution, I was like, wow, this is not a true depiction of my city. I feel like there's something missing. There's definitely narratives that are not being shared in this. And this film was being shopped around in different film festivals. And so it just didn't sit well with me. And I just kept thinking about it. And I said, wow, we need to do something to remind women to own their voices, because there could have been several scenarios that happened in that situation. One, there could have been a woman. There was one woman in the film, but there could have been people there that didn't stand up and advocate for the voices of women to be represented, or they just weren't considered at all, to be narrated inside of this feature film. And so I just wanted to do something. So I began to really do my own research to find out what was happening in the industry. And I began to create these short videos and these interviews of women who I knew that was working in the industry. And what came to light was there were a lot of discrimination happening inside of the industry. And then, so we started Women in Media, and that was like 4 years before Me Too. So we were simmering up to that moment. So what I felt in my city was already happening. And it was just it was boiling over at that point. And then Me Too happened. And I said, wow, we were right on target.
So you moved from, because I know you're in Miami now. You moved from Philadelphia to Miami. One, was that move really about you working in a different dichotomy, or is it different? Yeah, are you finding the same experiences here?
I'm still making my way around Miami, to be completely honest with you. I will say that over the years, just nationwide, I feel like there has been a shift where there are more women-centered empowerment movements, women-centered support groups and resources and opportunities that are available. So I have seen the nuances change just at a larger capacity. I have noticed that the Miami media market is a smaller media market compared to Philadelphia. There's not as many of us here to begin with. So I think that even creates even more of a need for us to create a coalition, for us to create an environment where we can come together and really support one another. So I think that there is definitely a need. I have seen and have gotten a lot of support with the women who are working within our industry. They have been very welcoming. I don't know if it's because my reputation precedes me, or if because I come to the table with value and exceptional experience. But I know that when you are younger and you're breaking into the industry, it is not always a friendly place to be.
No.
And it doesn't matter what market you're in. It's very competitive. And when you're new, they're like, why?
Why you
Right. Like, what can you, so
No.
it's very rough for people who are breaking into the industry. And that is part of the reason why I created Women in Media Global. And we have helped so many women break in and do what they're doing now. The case studies and like the success we've seen from our members has been it's mind blowing for me to see, to be like, wow, like we created this. And because I did it at such a young age, I sometimes look back at my body of work and I impress myself, and I'm like, how did I do all this at such a young age with limited resources? It was like I was unstoppable and I didn't take no for an answer. And the fact that we didn't have the resources, I think, drove us to do it even more.
So how do you work the nonprofit and the for-profit together? How do they intertwine to really execute what you are trying to achieve?
They are so intertwined that sometimes they suffocate each other, and it's just like, wait.
What is this?
Like it's because they borrow each other's resources. So now I'm at a point where I need Women in Media to be able to scale and have a pool of resources that isn't super dependent on the PR agency. So I tend to utilize my staff and my PR company to also help build the brand and do the day-to-day operations for the nonprofit. And that's how we tend to work together in the behind the scenes standpoint.
Okay.
The for-profit really benefits from having relationships with Women in Media because we offer PR services. Yeah. So we've been able to build very successful relationships through our Women in Media platform because we are a community that caters to the support of the women in our industry. And as a result, we build those relationships, and then that tends to help our PR clients because now we're able to get their stories placed, because now we can make calls to our sisters who are in news directors, who are journalists, who are podcast hosts, who are directors. And so we have that rapport and that relationship. So AOI Events and PR tends to be a sponsor for the nonprofit organization. And then we're able to co-mingle and do a lot of co-branded activations, conferences, and events, because I'll utilize my PR staff, and I'm able to pay the staff from Women in Media to operate for the nonprofit.
And are you able to secure grants through the nonprofits? Because I actually know of another magazine agency that did something similar and used that as a way to get grants. But have you been able to do that as well to help serve both?
Yes, we're able to get grants as a nonprofit, and we get a ton of sponsorships. And because of our mission, it really does create a magnet of opportunity for people who are aligned, who want to also support women and the empowerment and development of women professionals. So it's
Very
been
good.
absolutely
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
I actually read in your bio that you serve mission-driven companies. So what does mission-driven mean to you? And is that the client you seek? And will you turn someone away that you don't feel meet that definition?
That's a great question. So for me, mission aligned clients are those who care about giving back to the community in which they operate. So they are interested and are executing philanthropic efforts. They are doing give back initiatives in their community. They are a part of the ecosystem and actually are visible in the communities in which they profit from. So I only work with mission aligned clients because at the end of the day, I'm a creative. And so I started my career in theater arts and dance. And I feel like that is very much woven into my identity and who I am. And so I'm 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 just very creative. And so like as creatives, we want to do things that we want to do. And if we don't feel
Right.
connected to it, it's like I don't want to like it's just too much for me to try to do something that I am not necessarily connected to or feel aligned with. So
Right.
it's better that I don't be on your project because I put a lot of my heart and soul into the work that I'm doing, and I care about the projects that I work on. And if there's not a connection for me, then I don't think it's the best fit for us. So we only work with clients who are mission aligned and those who are really passionate about being philanthropic.
So are you, if you're actively seeking mission-driven companies, are you actively pursuing clients, or are your clients coming to you based on what you have been able to demonstrate with other organizations?
By the grace of God, it's actually both. So we are sought out by a lot of clients, but there's also plenty of companies who are not aware of what it is that we have going on. And so if I, am made aware of a client or a company that I feel connected to or one that I really want to represent, I am not afraid to reach out and try to build a relationship and a rapport with them. And I also think that like the bigger the clients, like as you go after wanting to represent bigger entities, sometimes you do have to go that official route and just get on their radar and make them aware of what it is you have going on. And I think that they admire people who actually reach out. Brands admire people who reach out to them and say, hey, I'm interested in a collaboration or some business together. So we don't leave no stone unturned. I do it all. It takes a lot to keep a business running.
Like it
It's
does, it really does, no joke. So what you do as a PR executive, you are focused very much on your client's growth, your client's success, your client's visibility. As a, I mean, when do you have time to focus on your growth? How have you been able to structure your day or model your operation so that there's a period of time that's focused on just AOI events and PR or women in media and not the client's needs? Because I used to do PR a long time ago and there was always a fire to put out. So it's like
yeah.
been able to really structure being successful in that way.
I think that's one of the things we've done exceptionally well at. Again, my young mind, when I was in my 20s, I'm like, how did I come up with these systems? How did I do these things? And I just think each time I've been able to, go, because we're 16 years in now. And I just think because God these are God's plans and his vision. And so I always give it back and I say, well, hey, God, what are we supposed to do with this? Or how are we supposed to do with this? But I was always tapped on because I also have a personal brand and personal influence. And so my personal brand carries the company's brands. And so people would constantly reach out to me to speak, to host. At one point in time, I was a party promoter. So I had the city of Philadelphia on lock. I used to host Wednesday nights at a lounge called Vango. So I was like hosting lounges, hosting parties. And I think that at one point in time, I did burn out. I did too much. And I was young because I was like, I thought that because I had the energy doesn't mean that like you should operate where you like not taking care of yourself.
24 hours, it'll be okay.
Right. So I did burn out at the age of like 25 and because I was doing the nightlife things as well. The nightlife helped to drive my relationships, and I was able to build my own database of contacts and a CRM. So I do believe that grind that I had for those years paid off in the long run because those people still live on my email list now. Right. I've been able to build relationships with them over the course of time, and they've been able to see our brand move. So we always did self-branded activations that was about our company, whether it was AOI Events and PR or Women in Media Global. We always activated our own brands. And then the clients, we use that as an opportunity, again, to build relationships. And also clients became aware of us because we were visible in the market. And that's really how I was able to do both. Nowadays, I'm way more savvy. I have a lot more experience. And so it came with tests and trials. Mm-hmm. But I have very clear boundaries with me and my clientele. And I have very clear business hours, and they know what I will and won't do. And I'm also not the person who is just going to bend to whatever the client says, right? So, yeah, this is a collaborative environment, right? We are an independent contractor working in connection with your agency. We have a way that we do business. We're happy to integrate into your system, but we're also not available 24/7. We have set deliverables. We deliver those things. And if there are add-ons, we're happy to also increase your invoice in order for us to do those things. But we're very structured. You know, people call me corporate PR, although I'm not a corporation, because I am very, very organized and extremely no nonsense when it comes to business. And so just kind of having those, just those different, what do you call those non-negotiables in your business, you know, those structure, you know, having a structured business, knowing how the flow happens, and then being able to delegate. I am extremely happy to delegate a task. I'm not one of those CEOs who don't trust people, who feel as if I have to do everything. I will gladly push it over to the team. Y'all report back, but I'm also very confident in knowing how to teach and train a team. So I have confidence in the talent that's around me to know that they can execute on certain things. And if they can't, I do know how to operate every department within my business to be able to pick up something in the event that something happens. So it has been a learning thing.
That's very important to really understand every aspect of what's going on before you throw it off to,
Yeah,
other people. So
yeah,
if that person doesn't work out, you're ready with the next person.
Yeah.
Now you sell, and this is interesting, being in a service industry, and in particular a service industry like media PR. You're not a widget. So, how have you been able to, what is that selling tool that has really sold your services, really driven client interest? When you talked about doing event activations, when does that come into play that it's going to really teach the client who you are and what you do and how you could do that for them? When you're a service business, it's a little trickier than trying to sell a widget, because you're essentially selling you.
That's what I was literally about to say. My personal brand has been a great asset in growing my business because people know my name and they know the reputation that I have, and that precedes me in a lot of environments. And I just thank God that I have a solid reputation. And even though I'm not home in the Philadelphia market. Philadelphia is still one of my leading markets, and I have a lot of clientele from Philadelphia. I mean, people are still hiring my services. They're referring business out to me. They know that I'm not present in the market anymore, but because I have such a trusted reputation in the market, I'd be like, thank God that that I still have that ability, and I've been able to successfully scale and grow the operations and expand into other markets. But my personal brand, me being on the speaker circuit, me doing podcasts, hosting my own podcasts, hosting my own events, creating my own noise. They always say build it and they will come. And that has always been my mentality of okay, I'm going to build my own conference. I'm going to build my own stage. I want my show. I'm just going to go ahead and launch it, and just having the audacity to just go ahead and do that. So having the personal brand and then building solid relationships, and not just business relationships, solid people, human relationships. I'm very hands-on and very involved in my community. You can visibly see me out and about at various occasions, events. I'm a part of professional networks. I invest in my networks. I sponsor things. I give back. I think visibility has been the greatest champion of my business.
So, what's your podcast about? I want to hear all about it.
Absolutely. Women in Media Global has a podcast called the WimSpeak Show, which is our acronym WIM. And that platform is all for women. Women, and only women. Okay. And we amplify the voices of women who are in the media industry, entertainment industry, and those who are also business owners, particularly the business owners who have a message for women who are working within our industry. So whether they are in front of the camera talent or the behind the scenes on production, creative, operations, administration, they're the ones building and moving the brands, we tell our stories. And we use it as a resource to help women grow personally. We help them grow professionally as well. We love taking a holistic approach to the woman. A couple years in, maybe year 4 or 5, we realized that while the professional topics were great, there were other topics they were concerned about, burnout in the industry, stress management, finances. And so we began to add that into our mission as well. And so the podcast is on YouTube. We're on Spotify and Apple and all the places that you stream. We started out as a live radio show in Philadelphia. So we were on the FM dial. And that's where we kind of learned our format, our rhythm. We were testing things out before the pandemic hit, and no one was in the studio. I was traveling. I was in Florida. So I was like, let's turn it into a podcast. And so, we were able to successfully then go into this platform. I'm always going to be a person who loves radio. I love live radio because I got my start in media producing talk radio shows at Radio 1 and at WURD, which is a Black-owned talk radio. So I love talk radio. And it's so interesting that podcasting is so popular now because it's like the digital version of talk radio. We just come on here and we talk and we share information, right? So I love it. Our podcast right now, we are in maybe season 5, I think. And we are in the middle of producing a series called Women of Faith. God has really gave me an assignment to tell the stories, not only just from the standpoint of hey, this is women's voices, but he's you can't forget me in the narrative. You got to also let people know about me as well. And so I am currently scheduling out women who, have stories of women, women of faith. So for example, we interviewed a gospel singer, Doe. We interviewed Doe on there. So it could be, again, it's still aligned. She's in the media industry, gospel artist. And so it's a lot of different ways that you can flip it and turn it. And we love to do our podcast live as well. So we tend to record those episodes and have a live in studio audience, or we'll do an event. So during the American Black Film Festival, we'll be coming back. We did it in 2025, so we're going to do it again. And we did a live recording of our podcast during the festival in Miami. So that was great.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So there was a question I was actually about to ask, and I just forgot it since I've asked. So when I met you, actually, I think at the time you were working for or working with a governmental agency. And then when I saw you again, you were like, I'm full-time CEO. Tell us what that transition was like. Tell us, was it, did you sit down and sort of say, okay, this is my plan of attack, this is where I'm going? How many shifts and adaptations and unexpected moves did you have to make along the way to get, from that pivot to you always CEO, but still the level of CEO here in Miami?
I think the great
locations are you in?
How many locations do we operate in? Our biggest markets are Atlanta, Georgia, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and now here in South Florida, Miami. Yep. We've operated. Oh no, not a problem. We've operated in so many markets because we have clients like literally all over the place. But I would say those markets is because those markets are where I also do my own events and where and then I graduated from Spelman. So I started my business while I was a student at Spelman. So, but we've worked in about 25 markets so far across the US. So it's been awesome. But the question was about pivoting from the government job into my business. So the good thing is I never stopped my business. So for me, it was just like back to it was back to regular scheduled programming. And and that's really going to be one of my biggest takeaways that I want to share with our audience and advice is like start your business, even if it starts out as all businesses start small. Okay. So unless you done inherited a great
a whole fortune,
right.
You both start small.
Yes. Right. And even if it starts out as a side hustle, even if it's you taking your time to start it, ownership, because there is no such thing as job security, right? At any point in time, you can be let go for one reason or no reasons at all, because it's not in your control. And so for me, learning that at such a young age about owning my own, I always got my own back. Right. So regardless of what government cut is happening over here, what this person done did, or they don't like me, so they fired me, or I quit because I don't like it here. I always had my own thing going. So I think the biggest shift was just like an emotional adjustment of anything, but at the end of the day, it was back to regularly scheduled programming. At that point, I was getting multiple checks. So that check just got cut out and I was still,
It gave you more time.
It gave me more time. But also it was not that big of a distraction from my business because what I did at that job was exactly what I do in my business. Okay. And so again, I'm just a big believer in I feel as if we have the audacity to live the lives that we want because abundance is our birthright. So for me, I'm just not finna take any job. I don't want your job. I want to do the things that I like to do. And if it's not in alignment with that, I'm not interested.
I can't even, I'm like you in regards to creative. I can't even get my head into doing it if it's not.
If it's right, I'm not just finna go out here and just do anything because I'm living in fear, right? And so I always have that abundant mindset. So it wasn't that bad of a shift in, and it wasn't that bad of a shift out.
And it was already kind of you were doing your day to day anyway.
Yep.
So what's your thoughts around, it's a whole nother question talked about based on what you were saying earlier. What's your thoughts around the shift that this podcasting industry, this online digital media industry is having when it comes to the industry? Before, everybody was trying to get their media on a streaming service or a cable network or even a film on a film screen. There's been sort of this shift where, like you were saying, people are doing their own thing and they're using this platform to do it. So what's been your what you're hearing, your experiences, your thoughts around just this interesting shift of how even where the dollars are going with regards to this platform?
I call podcasting the Wild Wild West because at this point in time, it is unregulated. It is straight creativity. It is no rules. Everybody just come in.
Last night.
Right. They come in and do whatever they want. There are no journalistic principles.
Right.
There's no guiding format. They're just like, do your thing, you know? So it's like, it's interesting to see. I think one of the biggest takebacks that I experienced was people doing pay to play and like monetizing their platforms and charging people to come onto it. And I understand it to a degree of you need to operate the business. There are expenses that come with the podcast. And if you're operating it like a business, which most podcasters should do, then I understand that. But what is outlandish is sometimes people paying $15,000 like it's a TV ad or a commercial to get onto a podcast. And I'm like,
That's
you know,
a lot.
to each his own, tomato, right? Like it is working for some people. And I guess they're getting the return on their investment through maybe their impressions or the views. I just say all that to say, like, you have to be prepared when you go into a podcast to be able to at least have a system and funnel in place to capture the impressions and the attention of the people in the audience who is coming onto it. And sometimes I think that there are ambitious people who like, oh, I want to get on this show. They got millions of views, and then they don't have anything set up for them to capture it. So it's like, is this a vanity thing? Is it like, how are you going to drive the leads back to your business? So
But
it's
yeah,
been,
what's the conversion? They might
what's the
have followers,
conversion?
but it's conversion back.
Exactly.
Drive you back. That's been a lot of conversation I've had with people in this space of, you know, how do you really get the biggest impact or bang for your buck when you're on these podcasts. So, but
I
I've
think,
just been interested to see, you know, how, you know, celebrities are getting into this. You know,
yeah, Joe
regular
Budden is
folks.
eating.
And somebody just
He
got a
eating.
Golden Globe. Amy Poehler just got a Golden Globe for a podcast. I mean, it's really set apart this whole media space, but it's opened up opportunities for those of us who have struggled to get into it. So I like that about it.
Yeah, I do like the fact that like, you know, you have your phone and you can like just turn your phone into a show, into a camera, and it's just like we're live. This is my show on my phone. You know, so I think that's awesome. I
Right.
think the content creation space, you know, is so much fun, and the brands, the big box brands and a lot of the leading companies in the industries are paying content creators to monetize their platforms. So it does create opportunity for people for more entrepreneurship and things of that sort. So I'm like, if you're interested in creating any sort of content, like you can get into it. Like go ahead and go for it. The barrier of entry is like on the floor. It's like it's no barrier.
Right. Just go find a platform and start
Right.
talking. And for free.
And for
So,
free.
um,
And for free.
but I will say, I just went to a podcast conference that was really
Oh,
good.
did you?
And really, yeah, it was really good actually. And you know, it just really did kind of like you said, it helped you get in your brain. This is a business, so you need to function
Yes. Like a
it's
business.
not
Yes.
just the creative aspect of it. There's behind the scenes.
Yes.
So thank you for the conversation. But before you go, I want to know, how can we find you?
I am on Instagram, so go ahead and follow me at DP Jeter, just like my initials here on the screen. You can find Women in Media at womeninmediaglobal.org, and also my PR website, aoieventspr.com. You can go to any three of those links and find access to all of my other links. We're on all platforms: YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. And I look forward to connecting with everybody.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And I think you definitely gave us a wealth of things to think about when it comes to setting boundaries and really understanding your personal brand. So I thank you so much for that.
Thank you
And
for
I
having me,
thank
Stephanie.
you for tuning in again. We'll see you again next time where we continue to talk to business owners about their pivot plan. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.